As you guys know, my name is Melia.
And I'm Sammy.
And we are Pursuit of Poly, and we are here for our podcast with Dana and Daniel, also known as Dana and the Wolf. So I'm going to take a moment to let these two introduce themselves because they are absolutely amazing, and both individually and together. So tell us a little bit about you guys.
Well, we are musicians. We're just like you. We're like the other you, basically.
Yes.
We make music. We try to make music about polyamory, and we have a social media like skits that we make called the Poly Couple, and where we just like go on polyamorous adventures and then talk to each other about it, and they're mostly failures and it's mostly funny, and yeah.
They're a little bit of a mix of real life and, you know, making fun of what could happen and stuff like that.
It's all based on true stories for the most part. But.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, your guys' platform has absolutely blown up over the last 6 months or a year now, and it's so cool to have more representation and visibility, and the skits that you guys do are so fucking relatable, so it's just amazing.
The first time we saw your guys' skits, we fell in love with you guys immediately. Just the type of humor that you guys have is already the type of humor that we're into and we have, so it was like, oh my gosh, there are people like us out here, you know, so it was great. I'm so
absolutely.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's such thing as poly humor. I wonder if it's like a type.
Right.
If there is, we're creating the lane for it, as we speak. You guys are paving the way as well, so it's so dope. So tell us more about you guys, where you're from, how did you get together? Of course, we're all dying to know, more about the story of Dana and Daniel separately and how they became Dana and Daniel together.
Well, we're both from Chicago, different suburbs. We met in the city. We went to school at Columbia. We met a couple weeks before school started because we lived in the same dorm, a few doors down. And yeah, I don't know. We just kind of hit it off as friends. I kept trying to hook him up with my roommate. Basically, I always had a boyfriend. That was I just always liked boys. I always liked to flirt. I always was doing something. And he had never had a girlfriend, and my roommate had never had a boyfriend. So I was like, oh, this is perfect.
I had never had a girlfriend.
Okay, he messed around.
Nothing too serious, I guess.
Gotcha.
But the whole time I was just thinking, I'll hook them up. And of course, we started falling for each other. And it was just one of those rom-com plots.
Yeah.
And the rest is history, I guess.
It's funny.
And so you guys, go ahead, Daniel. Sorry.
No, it's just funny how she tells it, because it was from my perspective, it was I was achieving the impossible. I felt like I was pursuing her, and I
you made the roommate switch.
But you tell it like it was all your doing. Yeah.
I love it.
Against all odds, you moved out of what you thought was the friend zone into the more than friend zone, which is amazing. So kudos to you.
Yes, sir.
It's quite an accomplishment. So I want to hear more too, Daniel. I know when we've spoken in the past, we had connected over, kind of our religious upbringings and family and stuff. So tell us about your family and how your family feels now that you guys are out on the platform
For
as
sure.
polyamorous. Have you had any, experiences with your family so far?
What did my mom just say on the phone yesterday?
She watched a couple of the recent skits. There was a skit where I went on a date with a different guy, and there was another skit where Daniel was jealous after I got back from a date, and I had to kind of console him by basically what I do. I use a lot of cute names like Pookie Bear and stuff.
Yeah.
So she was just saying that I just want you to know that I don't judge you, but I don't understand it, and I
feel bad for you.
I feel bad for you, and I feel like you're hurting. I just I'm sorry.
I don't want to see Dana on a date with another guy. You guys love each other.
Don't you?
Right, don't you? Don't you love each other? This is confusing. Oh
She's blink twice if you're hurting,
Literally, right. I know
cool.
that must be
She's I'm just old. I don't understand it, but she I don't know. So that's it's sort of a don't ask, don't tell situation with my family. We don't really talk about it, but they know about it, obviously. But yeah, like me and my dad have said zero about it to each other.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, because like they're like Jewish. I came from like a relatively religious background, and they're all about the institution of marriage and a heteronormative institution of marriage at that.
Right.
Yeah, or all that stuff. So I don't know. We just don't talk about it too much, but I never hesitate to tell my parents the truth. Like I told them I did drugs and like all that stuff. So I'm just like, I don't care what you think. Salud.
Exactly.
There we go.
So I have a question. So like, when did the journey start for you guys? Like, when did you like realize you were poly? Like, was it something that you guys realized together? Was one of you already like kind of like into like the whole love style? Or tell me a little bit more about that, like how it all started.
I mean, I think it probably started with me. When I was 14, I dated a guy who's 18, and I didn't want to have sex or like do hardly anything yet. And he was like, well, that's fine. I don't need that. And I'm like, okay. Turns out he cheated on me, had sex with someone his age. And I was like, I don't like you lying to me. And I want us to be honest, but at the same time, I think we have something really good, and I'm not going to give you everything that you need right now. So if you need something from her, like, I'm okay with it. And he was like, what? No, absolutely not. He's like, let's just break up. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. We break up. And of course he's like, actually, I love you. Can we get back together? And then he cheats again and lies again. And I'm just like, at that point, I was kind of like, I was honest and I understood your needs. So I wish that you could just give me that in return. And I didn't see it from anyone else at that age, but I knew from myself that made sense. So I didn't necessarily know about polyamory or any of that. But from that point on, I was kind of like, okay, well, none of my friends or family agreed with me, but nothing really, like, I felt like I was right still. So I just kind of ignored their, he's not good enough for you, girl. I just ignored all that. And was like, and I'm just going to listen to myself. So you know how crazy girls can get.
We just don't listen, do we? I love it. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's amazing that already at that young age you were able to honor like your inner voice, intuition, and needs and boundaries, which is something that like most mid-30s are still figuring it out. So
definitely,
that's amazing to hear. And so now that you guys are like out here, you're polyamorous, influencers, like you are answering questions all the time from different people about polyamory. And I'm sure some of the most common questions you get is like, what is the hardest part for you guys, when it comes to polyamory? What's been the most difficult thing, both individually and then maybe together as a couple, in your journey?
I think one of the hardest things for me was when like Dana starts liking a guy that I clearly see is like has a lot of red flags. And I can't I'll tell her, what I see, but I can't tell her what to do. And like I don't want to tell her what to do anyway, because she won't learn,
Yeah.
She has to learn the hard way.
Yeah. If you veto me, I basically will then not saying it's like a me thing, but I think anyone would resent somebody who kind of takes away their opportunity to choose for themselves. So I'm going to learn a lot more if I make a mistake and then I fall and I'm like, oh shit, I'm hurting.
But I just had a long list of I told you so.
Yeah.
That I keep only when absolutely necessary.
Bringing them out.
We only pull
ready,
those out like every 6
months,
months, right? We have like a certain code we know when we bring that list.
Yeah. But
Well,
she's the same.
I mean,
she sees the same thing with me.
Yeah.
Like she calls out all the red flags that I just ignore because I'm blinded, all the time.
Women are blinding.
Yes.
Blinding.
They are.
They certainly are. See, and it's funny because I think in our relationship, we probably experience the same thing, but most of the time I'm very quick to ignore any red flags if she's hot. Like basically if she's hot, I will literally just look the other way until, like you said, Dana, I learned from myself, to figure it out.
I second that.
Guilty. Yeah.
I think
She gets blinded by the ass.
Always. What?
like I always give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I always think, well, I probably am seeing it wrong. Like, well, I probably misunderstood them, and it's just normally kind of how I operate. And then Daniel's like, I think you know exactly what that was.
Right.
Denial. So
But you do the same thing for me.
yeah.
I always give them the benefit of
I
the
see the
doubt.
good in them so bad.
What'd you say?
What was that?
I was saying you want to see the good in somebody when you first meet them so bad, so it's hard, especially when you like them, to like not ignore that. I feel like we all kind of go through that at some point. For sure.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I was going to say from the question back, that was kind of how I got into the beginning of the mindset of like where polyamory or where it was going. But Daniel and I started completely monogamous, and he came from a very different place than me. So I think that was also another really hard part, is just getting there, getting, together to polyamory.
Yeah.
That's such an amazing point, because there are so many people, at least like on our platform, that constantly ask us, or they say like, you know what, I'm in a relationship, I want this, but my partner doesn't want this,
Right.
or my partner's not comfortable with this. Like, how do I have that conversation, or what do I do? Like, what would your advice be to somebody that's in a relationship right now that they're interested? And Daniel, same for you. Like, what is the advice for someone maybe who isn't as interested as their partner, and stuff like that? I think that's important, for couples to understand, because most couples are putting themselves in situations without really, exploring what that looks like. So tell us what you guys would do.
I mean, on my end, I would just say that Daniel was a person who I thought would never want this or be cool with this, or understand it. I mean, not saying that he doesn't understand things, but he just seemed so the opposite, that it's surprising that we got here. And then now that we are here, we're so happy, and we get it like so well, and we're tight. And I think it's important for people to see that we're like an example, that we weren't these like miraculous, like, oh, well, we both just got it and we both were on the same page forever. Like, we weren't on the same page for a lot of it.
Yeah, I kind of tell it a little differently.
And now
I love the
Daniel's
two
side.
perspectives. though.
Right.
I love the two
right,
perspectives,
right.
because that's real. That's real.
Well, so Dana didn't have the terms or the knowledge for polyamory or anything like that. And I knew, I think part of this is like a patriarchal, problem, that like Dana didn't speak up a lot of times. Like, it would be more her disagreements with me, like if I would start arguing about something, she would be like, yeah, right, you're right. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm right? Like, why are you saying that? Like, I feel like there's more, like, and I feel like a lot of our relationship has been me like pulling it out of you, because you weren't able to like speak your thoughts. And then what I do, I think you're right that I started in a totally like religious, monogamous, like that kind of place. But the thing that I have that I think that everybody needs to have to see something like polyamory is like a willingness to admit you're wrong, and like a willingness to like really explore, new ideas or whatever. So like for me, I was always like, I was reading about like the history of marriage, the history of love, and like trying to understand. And that's how we found polyamory and like words to like describe what was going on in your head.
We definitely, it wasn't like, I want to be polyamorous. Like, that did not happen.
Right.
It was just, I feel like I want to connect with other people as well. Like, how is that
and
possible?
you naturally get it. Like, what took me books to read, like when we would play devil's advocate, like Dana naturally just had answers for everything on why polyamory seemed like a better lifestyle, for at least for us. So it was like natural for you, and I had to like read about it to like understand it and everything. I think that the biggest thing is like, if you're bringing it up to a partner, that they're either gonna be like the kind of person that is like open-minded enough to like consider, maybe it'll take them a while, but like there are certain people who are just like, you're screwed. Like, if like once you open Pandora's box of like polyamory, you're probably not going back. Like, once you start looking into it, if you're open to it. So if your partner's just like straight up, no, never, like try to challenge it and see how far you get. And if you can't get that far, like
you're gonna be
doomed.
sacrificing yourself, what you want,
Yeah.
and your beliefs for another person.
So you said, Dana, you brought it up to Daniel first, right?
I kind of just we questioned each other at different moments of our lives. So like we did a skit called the Vegas Snog, or we call it the Vegas Snog. And it's a 1-minute skit about, I'm going to Vegas with some girls. And, we've been in a relationship for years. And this was a real, situation that happened to us that we made a skit about. Where I was kind of like, what if like the girls met some guys? Cause like they're all single. And I was like, would I be able to like partake, And he was like, what? Like, it was kind of a mind-boggling question, but at the same time, I kind of was like, well, I mean, it wouldn't take away from you. It would just be like a fun night. And he was like, wait, what? That's a thing? Like,
No, that is.
It's like, hold on.
Here we
The
go.
revisionist. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it's so hard. Dana's memory is horrible, so I don't trust anything she says about like telling stories. But
Okay.
she's great at telling stories that make you laugh.
maybe I
at
just
least.
make him better.
You do make them better.
That's why I say it's called
Well,
revisionary
it's
history.
always better
It's
this
a
way.
talent to be a revisionist.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
It really is, and that's why.
Colorful imagination.
Exactly. No, and with the skits too, like the way we retell the stories, I always end up looking like the asshole, but I just take it for the sake of the
joke.
comedy. Like in that skit, I was like,
thinking relatable.
Relatable.
yeah, right.
But tell me about the skit. Sorry.
No, just like I had to be the one like, what? You want to make out with a bunch of people? Like, are you crazy? Like I had to look like the asshole, and
But in reality,
it wasn't like that at all. I was like,
it was a little bit more
I was
like,
excited about
oh,
it.
like that sounds like, I don't know why, but
Yeah.
that's kind of a turn on. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
and that's kind of
Spiced it up a little
polyamory
bit for the
happens.
content.
Say it again.
You guys spiced it up a little bit for the content. Makes sense.
Yeah, because it's a drama, it's a
a
comedy.
minute
You have
long,
to
yeah.
give them something,
Right, you have to get. Hey, we get it totally. We totally understand.
Yeah.
But that's awesome that you had that reaction, though. That's cool because most men wouldn't even be able to hear that without like, going left with it. So.
I was gonna say is that we also want to like show people that it's the guy isn't always gonna be like, oh, sure, maybe, there a lot of times they're gonna be like, so I'm not enough for you, like that's gonna come
And
out.
I did think that. I did go through all those monogamous thoughts of like, does this make our love less special?
Yeah.
Like, do you not really love me? Of course, I had all of that, but like
Right.
in a questioning way, and not in like an abusive way. Whatever.
Got you right. More presenting it as a question and being curious instead of like attacking her, like and being offensive. I get it.
For sure.
That's awesome.
But I think that's
Yeah.
important for like most people's reactions, like you said, are going to be like the skit, So
Mhm.
like we need to be able to see how to navigate through those moments, and you guys do it in such a great way, in such a relatable way. But we feel you, Daniel. We know that you're not a hater. We know. Don't worry, we see you, baby.
We see you. We feel you. Because I know Sam's good stuff on it.
I put him in his like to have his own perspective too with another skit / real story that happened, which was when we originally were going to go on tour with our band. And I was like, so Daniel, like, are you going to want to like talk to any of the groupies or the, groupies, whatever, that was an old fashioned term. But I was like, what if there's groupies? Are you going to want to like meet some ladies, and he was kind of like, am I allowed to meet ladies? So it's kind of like,
question.
you have to put them in that perspective so that they're like, oh, that is something I would also want. Like, if you kind of paint the picture for them, it's no longer the girls in Vegas. Now it's, I'm on stage, I'm a rock star, and there's a bunch of hot ladies underneath me, like, like paint them a picture.
Well, I think it's hard for people to like what you're getting at is that it's difficult when you're someone who is initially hearing the takeaway, right? It's like, what am I losing in this situation, and what do I need to defend and hold on to, versus presenting in a way that says, look at what you're gaining from the situation, right? And then it becomes a little bit easier to swallow that someone else is also going to gain something that you think would be valuable, So I think that's a beautiful way to help people, see the value for each individual partner, not just for one or for the other,
Totally.
I love that.
I got a question. So, like, what's been like now that we've done that, like the hard stuff, right? Like, what's been the hardest? Like, what has been one thing that's like been positive about polyamory that's kind of contribute to your guys' relationship?
For me, it's just falling in love again with new people. It's just so intoxicating. It's like getting to go through the honeymoon phases again and again is like insane, while being able to still have this like incredible, deep, like long lasting love. There's also comfort in that, and there's safety, and you knowing you still have that person that just completely gets you.
And it spices it up a little bit too.
Oh yeah, like the excitement and the sex, like, and the vibe that comes with the new relationship energy can transfer to the old relationship energy, I guess. And it's just kind of like it's just like it's just like kind of buzzing everyone in different ways.
I mean, being able to go out and appreciate that something else that's different from your, like you said, stable, like deep, intimate connection with your primary partner, and being able to kind of like not only find new things to bring back in, it's like bringing an Easter egg, like, oh, look what I found, and let's try this, or like you said, new energy and intoxicating energy, and bringing that home, but also then finding the things that aren't there in someone else, right? Like that also pinpoints and focuses on the things that make your current relationship more special, because someone else can't offer you, you know what I'm saying, those same things. So I love that about polyamory, and I think that is one of the, definitely for me, one of the top things about it is just being able to re-experience something from a new perspective, because you're gaining new perspective every time that you're connecting with someone new.
Yeah, I love the feeling when you meet someone that you connect with who like impresses you, and you're like, oh my God, like how are they gonna affect me so that I become a better version of myself? Like it's exciting, it's not as scary as I think it would be just being single. It's like another level, because you have like a safety, you have like a home base, so yeah.
Are we running out of time?
Yeah, if we do, we'll just restart again.
Okay.
Did you want to talk about that, or did we cover it?
Right, like your highs, like what's your favorite thing about poly?
Oh, the favorite thing? Did I say?
You haven't said anything yet about
it. I thought I did.
You were speaking.
Well, I think I agree. I concur with everything. Yeah, like I guess I also love how I think I love the freedom and the openness, because I don't know, we don't see each other as primary partners, even though we live together and we share finances and everything. We're like nesting partners, as they call it. But I love the possibility. I love like that you're not, that one day I could finally break free of this relationship. No, I'm kidding.
This was my way of getting out.
It's a beacon at the end of the tunnel, No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Please explain further.
Let's hear more. Shall we?
I'm just playing. I know. I'm just thinking about all the hate comments we get, and that's what they're always. They're always
like, it's because they don't really love each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which couldn't be further from the truth. It's just that an evolved sense of love that doesn't include styles of attachment that aren't secure, and it doesn't include codependency, and it doesn't include kind of like ownership of your partner, right? But people have a hard time understanding.
Yeah, and it is still scary, like Dana when she's falling in love with somebody else. Like I do have like the fears of like, oh my God, I could see her moving in with this guy, and then like I'll never see her again. I'll miss her. And, like I still like go through all that, but then also when I like really think about it, and when we talk about it, it's more exciting because like we do spend all of our time together, and we are in the same house like all the time, or our apartment, or whatever, all the time, and like it would be really exciting if she was like with somebody else and living somewhere else or something, and then we would get to see each other. Like it would be like starting like a new relationship.
It would be new relationship energy again.
Yeah.
It would be like every time we see each other, it would be purposeful. It wouldn't just be like you wake up and you're like, hey, and then like, oh, time to work. Okay, let's work. Oh, time to have a date.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, time to go to sleep. Okay, time to do responsibilities with the dog. Okay, like it's just we do everything together. And in the end, you end up, it's just like you don't realize how special that time is, unless you kind of have it away from that time and then be like, oh shit, I like miss this person. I want to see this person, you know? I don't know.
So real.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I think that's beautiful. I think you guys are doing such a great job just by being you, of like showing people that it's not as scary. You know, you don't have to be scared of the outcome. You don't have to be living in a state of fear about, you know, whether or not a relationship is going to change, right? Like, the thing about it is that life is always going to fucking change. Like, whether you try to hold on and grasp onto it or not, it's always going to change. So giving people that power, and that it's like a superpower.
To be able to look at things a little bit differently is so huge. And whether or not you're polyamorous or monogamous, you can utilize that same train of thought. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's so cool.
So have you guys been in that situation yet where you have both found other partners that you were starting to fall in love with? And like, how did that go? And how was that, you know, experience for you?
We haven't moved. We've still lived together the whole time, but we've been through. Yeah.
There was a relationship I had where I like would stay over like once a week, and it obviously, like, we both wanted it to grow to more, you know, like I could have seen myself staying there half the week. I could have seen us going on trips, like long trips together, like
You
all
went,
of that
you
was
went on trips.
yeah,
So,
we did go on some trips, but it's like I could have seen that happen. It's just for like personality reasons, like personality differences. It was just not he wasn't really the right person for this for me. So that didn't end up happening. But with a partner that is more in tune and on the same page as me, and we get along and we're not toxic to each other, I think I would love that, you know, but we haven't experienced it quite yet.
I think you did.
Gotcha.
You were definitely like in love.
Oh, I was in love. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was toxic. You know, there were bad things. There was
Yeah.
narcissistic qualities that I was dealing with him,
Yeah.
and it sucked. And I had to like, it took a while to see it. So yeah, I was in love for a while. And then once I started seeing the true colors come out, and I was like, oh, I got to get the fuck out of here.
Gotcha.
So side note question.
Because I feel like this isn't necessarily polyamory related, but it is because we're talking about poly relationships. But like, it's interesting because Sammy and I's first like triad where we felt like we were falling in love with this girl, individually, obviously, and together, like, she was very narcissistic and did like a lot of love bombing, and it was this like toxic level of like chemistry, right? It was like that crazy like lust or like
Psycho passion,
right?
So
you
hate them and then you love them.
Yes, and you still hate them while you love them. It's like very interesting because after that relationship, and I want your opinion on how you deal with that, you know, or like how do you compartmentalize like new connection, right? Like after you've experienced something that's that magnetic.
Yeah.
Regardless of its,
I know what you mean.
How do you like
a psychotic eye?
Yeah. How do I recalibrate into a new relationship if that's not there? You know what I'm saying? Like knowing that can come along most of the time with like toxic, like you said, crazy kind of dynamic, like, but knowing that I feel that level of intensity for Sammy, right? And we've gotten to a place, obviously, over many years of working on ourselves and getting our relationship into like a really healthy place, right? But like our level of intensity mirrored the level of intensity that this kind of toxic type of love had. So what I'm saying is I'm looking for that level of intensity when I'm connecting to someone new. How do you recalibrate when you know that it's toxic to sometimes feel so intensely connected to someone?
For a while, because after I tried dating, after I broke up with that person, it was like, I thought I was not going to find that level of like passion because there wasn't that hate or like toxic power play in the mix, you know. And I would watch those movies where there's I don't know, like a good example would be like Vicky Cristina Barcelona, and the main Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem's characters, they kind of also have this love hate where they're just always like hating on each other or like having amazing sex. And and they didn't work without the third party actually, which was kind of cool. She like tamed the whole thing. She like calmed the whole situation. But anyway, sidebar that's a great movie. So I would date people and there would just be no, like nothing. There was just no spark. There'd be no energy. There'd be no, love, hate. It would be nothing. And I was kind of like, oh, this isn't going to happen. But I did actually recently start talking to someone. They're just a friend right now, but like there is a spark and there is a feeling of like, a pull. But the interesting part is there isn't the toxic or the power or the manipulation, all those things that I can see from a mile away now because of that relationship. That's missing. So I'm kind of like, okay, well, like, let's see if this comes, if this becomes anything, because I think it exists now. Yeah. I have this feeling that this is going to be something good, in whichever way it is in my life. But I don't think that passion comes with toxicity.
I love that.
That's real. Yeah.
I think it's important to like note that, because like you get addicted to, like you said, that kind of power play with somebody, and especially with new relationship, new NRE involved and all the things we were talking about. It's like, and then I think, just reminding yourselves that it can take time to build. Like the spark can be there, but maybe the spark isn't like
right away. But if
you gotta do a little bit of that. Yeah.
Going. And maybe that is the more healthy way sometimes, right? Like to be engaging with someone. It's not like to jump right in at a fucking 1.5 million, miles per hour, but to just be like, okay, cool, there is a connection here, but let's let it grow and let it do it in a way that's healthy for you.
The last thing too is that like the toxic and the power play and the, charming, suave. To sum up, I was just going to say that the like power play and like charmy, sweet talking guy, like I'm not attracted to that anymore because of, so when you learn.
I'm a very poor sweet talker, so.
I just mean, those like suave, like, oh, my place is actually right by here. The first time I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, and now I'm like, oh my God, okay, next, like.
Right, red flags, yeah.
Cut them out. That's a good point. That's a good point. You have to remember the things that came along with that were really, really bad. And then maybe you won't make the same choice, right? I love that. Yeah. So you had a question. I think, Sammy, you were like ready to ask, but you're eating ice, no worries.
Sorry. So I was just gonna ask you guys, have like majority of your partners been non-monogamous, or have they been, have they had any experience with polyamory, or most of your partners just been, people that are
newbies?
Newbies.
I think most of them have been either monogamous or questioning.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've really ever had. Actually, I think one time I dated
one person.
Yeah,
that was E&M of sorts.
Yeah, they weren't necessarily polyamorous. But.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that was actually a part of like, dating that person. It was even just dating an E&M, like a person who's just non-monogamous and not poly, is a difference. So it's I don't know. I think poly people are hard to find.
Yeah, it's hard to find. There's no poly bars or poly flag, or they're working on
not yet, sir. Not yet.
Yeah.
Soon enough, it's gonna be y'all's bar. We're gonna come to in LA, and that's gonna be like this.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
But yeah, and
what were you gonna say? What? No, you go first.
No, just I don't know what it is about a lot of people who identify as polyamorous. There's like it feels like there's this underlying like, okay, so we're both down to sleep with each other then, like vibe, and I don't like that as much as like the challenge of a a monogamous, like,
because
like
dating situation.
When two monogamous people meet, it's not like we're allowed to sleep with each other, let's most likely do it. It's like, I don't know, I guess it's a stigma,
that if you're poly, you're more sexually active, I guess, or quicker.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I don't know, or there's more of like, like this implication of like, well, since we're both able to, yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. And yeah, it is challenging, and it's also better to, for us, we like meeting people in person. So like on the apps, there are like some kind of poly apps or whatever, but they're just they're mostly like kink based and that kind of thing, which there's nothing wrong with. But like when we're trying to meet like long-term partners or whatever, we find like the in-person connection is always better.
Yeah.
And most of the in-person people are monogamous, so
It goes slower, like the way that we are used to dating. Like on the app, is it Field or Feld?
Field.
On the Field app, which is like more for alternative lifestyles, I think. People literally list all like the sexual things that they're interested in.
Right.
And in my profile, I don't list that at all. And I say that I'm like old school, or like I like old fashioned courting, things like that.
Yeah.
And people will still message me, like first message, like, what's something in bed you've always wanted to try but haven't yet? Like that's not at all like what I want to be messaged.
Yeah.
I don't know about it all.
From like a stranger, because if I'm having that conversation, it's with someone that I'm comfortable with, or like that I'm actually
Like-
Probably not what you want to lead with when
No.
you're looking for
Yeah, a few dates in, if you're drinking and you guys start talking about sex and it's fun and you can tell it's mutually comfortable, sure. But they know nothing about me. Why are they asking me a sex question out of the gate? Like, so, but that's a preference, I know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're kind of the same. Like,
Mhm.
even though we're perceived in this way as polyamorous people, that we're like freaks and it's like, tons of sex and all this stuff, like we're actually super vanilla. Like we're kind of prude, like we love sex, or sexual, but it's not like that's the number one driver. And it actually takes us just as long as, like you said, a normal monogamous relationship to get to that point.
For sure.
There's so many other checkpoints that happen before the sex necessarily does. So how do you guys identify sexually? Because I don't think we really got a chance to ask you guys, like, how do you see yourselves within your sexuality?
For me, I've been like straight most of my life, but I've always had an attraction to just a person, no matter like who they are. So I have had moments with women, and I haven't really fallen in love with a woman, but I can imagine it happening. I just haven't met that person yet. So I guess I would say I'm somewhere between like pan or maybe bi-curious at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've also been pretty straight and raised to be very straight. And I guess like I would say maybe I would be hetero flexible, but I don't really have the experience to back it up. And I could theoretically see like a man being attractive, but I have yet to like fall for a man, because I feel like they're mostly repulsive to me. Like a man's personality is like just like, I feel like I can read. I know what they're doing, It's like
I see you.
I see what you're here for, buddy.
Man. Like I know. That's funny as
I
fuck.
just love women so much that I don't know. It's like, why would anyone want anything other than a woman? I guess. Like,
Oh, Daniel.
I'm just kidding.
No, Daniel. No, I mean, I feel that so hard to my core, Daniel, because like people always ask me, about our relationship. Like, well, can you seek other men? I'm like, I surely can. I just surely don't. I'm good. Like, I found one that I can deal with, and that's one that I
Still
love.
working on it.
It's hard, but I do, like, obviously I'm still attracted to men. It's just a matter of, like you said, personality. Like I could look at a man all day. I could be attracted physically to guys, and I am all the time. But when it comes to like the type of personality and human being that it takes for me to be attracted to a man, it's so much harder to find. Like it's just,
yeah.
well, I'm gonna give you your flowers, babe.
Thanks,
Today.
sometimes I need
Just today.
Aw.
Don't get used to it. No, I'm kidding.
haven't heard that in a while, so I'll take it.
No. So yeah, so being that you guys, have obviously been in the game, like let's just also reiterate that you guys date, how do you identify within your polyamorous standpoint? You know, tell us again. I know you guys said you guys are nesting partners, you don't consider yourselves primary partners. You know, what else is there to know about your kind of polyamorous identity?
I like to say, I'm waiting to get canceled for saying this, but I like to say we're po-choice, because it's like we're polyamory choice. It's like we're not always polyamorous, because like technically there's no adequate term for like you're not always with multiple people, but you have the ability to choose to be with multiple people if you want, because you are autonomous over your body and you can do what you want with your body, and no one has that power over you. So I guess the word we're probably just polyamorous, because right now we are dating other people.
Yeah. But like a lot of the time through COVID and all that, like we were just together. So technically we were living monogamously, but we're open to like meeting other people. So it's just kind of, I think a lot of times we're like, oh, you're poly. Okay. So you get around, or like, oh, you're with
like 8 partners
all the time. Yeah. And that's just not really it. Like for us, at least.
Right.
So when you guys are in your separate,
autonomous too.
What was that?
That's another word we use. Autonomous. We're autonomous. Yeah. So we don't, like, as an example of that, if I'm going to make a date with someone, I'm not asking Daniel's permission for like to use my time. Because I think when you're in a relationship, you normally think of like your time, or a lot of people do think of their time as like their together time. That's like any of my time is kind of like Daniel's time. And so I have to be like, oh, Daniel, you know, do I have any, can I hang out with my friend on this day? Like I used to think that way. And I realized once we started leaning towards this more autonomy, you know, lifestyle, it's like, oh, my time's my time. So like I can just book something. And then that way, if Daniel's like, oh, wait, we need to work, I'll be like, all right, well, let's work around what I've already booked, because, you know, I can't just assume that I'm always free for one partner.
It is just like kind of congruent with a healthy relationship. Like it feels like, as you guys have been together for 15 years too, like it feels like as we like kept unlocking layers of like our relationship over the years, like communication or, you know, breakthroughs and figuring out our relationship, like polyamory was just sort of the next logical step. Like we're autonomous, like we have control over our own shit. And it's like, I guess it's called polyamory, but.
Right, but really it's just like a healthy evolution of a long-term relationship, right? Yes. Like I totally hear you. It's got this like certain connotation, but really it's an evolution of thought is really all it is. It's an evolution of thought, evolution of understanding emotion, you know what I mean? And connection and things like that. So I'm all the way here for it. Now, with that being said, I know you guys date mainly separately, but being that, you know, we've dated mainly together, tell me, how have you ever dated together? Would you ever date together?
Would you ever consider it? Yeah.
What would it take? I don't know. I'm asking for a friend. What would it take?
It's
in a situation with you.
I don't know. I guess because we've been in situations. We'll just say that.
She took a drink. A long drink. For those who can't see.
Well, okay. We've tried. We've tried to go on dates with people together, where on the apps we'll literally write, because it's usually happens on an app in that situation. I don't see unicorn hunting. I don't see what we do as unicorn hunting, because we're extremely forward and open about what we're saying. So we're not only that, but we say, hey, if you end up only liking Daniel or only liking me and you just want a relationship with me or with Daniel, like that's okay too. Like nobody is forced into like, you need to like us both and you need to like us both at the same amount, at the same time period. Like that makes no sense. That's, to me, is more on this like spectrum of unicorn hunting, because they're kind of like looking at the outside source as like almost objectifying them, but not assuming that they have feelings, or that, like, you know, I don't know, like they're just putting them in a weird position.
It's also kind of like asking someone to show up as the person that you need them to be to fit into this little box, versus just showing up as themselves and seeing what happens. So I totally hear you and I agree.
Yeah. And so like we have gone on dates with the person that like it has been feeling the most normal. We've just been acting in like a friendshipy way and just getting to know them slowly. And then that way it like gives us all three time to decide if any of us are connected in any way. Like doesn't have to be all three. It can, you know, I don't know. I think it's more fun to like maybe go on separate dates with, you know, just like whatever you feel like doing. But I think it's awkward going in being like, all three of us have to hang out every time. And, you know, these are our expectations and like, it's just a lot. So we try to avoid all of that.
But it is tricky because like we try to avoid it and we try to communicate like, well, you know, I try to like break the fourth wall sometimes and just be like, hey, like, I know this is weird, like obviously it's a weird situation, but at the same time, like there isn't art. It's like, I think somebody was asking me the other day, like if you need to have like a really strong foundation of a relationship before you move into polyamory. And I know there's a lot of people that do like solo polyamory, so you don't have to, but like it is sort of like advanced level dating, I guess, like being with multiple people, because communication doesn't mean 100% honesty. It means like you've gotten down the art of communication, you know. It's like, so part of it is like when there's three of us, it's like we do check in, but like sometimes a check-in could be unromantic. So sometimes you be more spontaneous with it, and it's like you have to figure out the right balance of communication.
You don't want to like talk about everything to the death to the point where it's just like I don't even feel anymore. Like
I feel like we've talked this out a little too much.
Yeah. Actually, I always am trying to just stop myself from speaking because I do kind of I get into topics and well, maybe I'm drunk.
Like literally my entire life is just the continuous me trying to control myself from speaking. Like literally that hits so hard for me right now. Like, it just goes, you know?
Yeah. But only like when you're uncomfortable and you like don't want to be saying what you're saying. Does it happen? Stop. When you actually need to be real with someone or communicate something or like tell them if you're upset about something, like then I'm not talking at all. Like that's why Daniel's much better. He, like he said, he like pulls it out of me. Like I think I would be in a totally different place. I don't even know if I would be E&M or poly if it wasn't for like Daniel helping me learn to communicate. It's tough. I don't know. It's hard.
It's really hard. So hard. So when you guys have been in these situations that have built like organically and naturally, and having so much experience like dating separately, like tell me the difference. Like what felt different for you guys when it was together
versus separately
exploring a new connection versus separately exploring the new connections? What was good, what was bad about it? Like give us your kind of impression of the two for other couples out there who haven't done either, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think there's like, you know, a hot element to like us, like when we've gone out on a date with like a girl or something, it's like
people will come up to us and be like, so it's
what's going on?
Who are all you here?
Who are you to her and who are you to him?
Yeah, like literally
that's happened.
That happens every time we've gone on a date with like one other person.
Because they can tell the energy is slightly different than just like friends hanging out. And like
bartenders,
so like, how do you guys know each other? Or like a random guy in the bar they'll just
come up like, hey, and you're like, hi, like we were just in a really deep conversation, like what can we do for you?
Or maybe they just think that we're just, since it's three people, it's not like a date.
Maybe
so
one girl's available.
But
no, but they always say the same thing. They come up and their entrance is always like, who are all, what do you got? How's the, you know, it's you're just like, I see you.
I see what you're doing there.
I love it.
How can I get in?
Right. And then they look at Daniel, they're like, what did you do to
tell me
here?
your secrets?
How did you do this?
Yeah.
They really do that. They look at me and they'll like passive aggressively compliment
They'd be like,
me.
I guess you're a cool guy, huh?
Literally. No, literally. What was
that last guy was like, you're kind of subtly fashionable, huh? Like you're kind of a subtle designer or something.
Like you're
like undercover designer maybe. And I was like, what?
Like fuck you, dude. Seriously, fuck you.
Yeah.
Oh my
I was like,
god.
I guess that's a compliment.
Yeah, I
don't
was
know.
like, did you wear the
Uh,
right tennis shoes today?
Right,
Or like,
yeah.
what was that?
Too much.
but yeah, like so that's
It's
fun.
hot, you were saying.
Yeah, it's hot. It's like but also like it's kind of annoying because it's like when you're getting to know somebody, well, there's like more, it's like double the work to do. It's like, well, it's like me and Dana already know each other so well. So then she's telling all of her like first time stories again that I've heard a million times or, or whatever, which is fine. But like,
Yeah.
like,
We clock out at moments,
yeah, I'm like, what? Oh, what story? Which story was
Like,
that?
oh, is Dana done talking?
I'm gonna go to the bathroom while he runs this one back, and then I'll see
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna tell that story? Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
you.
But so I don't know, the separate thing has a lot. I think there's more advantages to the separate thing because it's like one of the biggest benefits of polyamory is that you find something else in somebody else that you don't have with your current partner. And for us it's an advantage because then we get to spend that time.
Yeah.
It gives us our own time, and it gives us
We get more space from each other, which is good for our relationship. And then also you get to talk about things that maybe like Daniel gets to talk about philosophy or I don't know, just things that he
boring
finds,
things.
yeah, science. And then I don't have to listen and I can be watching a movie,
And then you
I'm fucking dead. Oh my god, I really love it so much. I love it so much. I actually fooled Sammy into thinking I liked video games for like the first 6 months of our relationship. So like when we get a new relationship and she like really likes video games, I'm like, this is fucking great because I don't want to hear the shit. I don't want to play it. I'm not interested. So it's like a really beautiful moment, when you can see your partner enjoying something that you don't have to enjoy with them.
Go do that with them. That's fine.
I'm cool.
Yeah,
and I'm happy for you at the same time.
That's funny.
that's adorable.
When same thing with like first 6 months when Dana would always tell me her dreams. And I was genuinely interested in them at first. No,
sure
it's just,
you are.
well, because she has like insane dreams. I don't know why, but they're like they like have a whole plot twist and everything, and
They're
always
full
adventures.
movies.
They're like full,
Right. You're a director.
Middle, beginning,
it
middle,
was,
and ending.
like it was fascinating for like the first like 6 months, and now like 15 years later, she still tells a dream, and I'm like trying to focus.
Like things are moving. I love that.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think, what about like challenges in the early stages when you're dating, when you have dated someone together, what has been like the weirdest part or the hardest part about it? Obviously,
I got a funny
partner like get off is hot, and obviously seeing your partner being appreciated or appreciating someone else, that's beautiful. But tell me, what's the weirdest part? Like, what's the hardest part when you've ever dated together?
One thing I find funny is if it's a girl, let's say we match, her and I matched on a dating app. And so Daniel's like he was the side character in the pictures, technically, on a technical basis. And we all meet and we all have a good time. And then Daniel texts her on the side. That's how it's seen, but it's not supposed to be seen. I mean, it's not that way because they're supposed to see if there's a relationship there, just like her and I would. But I think a lot of people, and I think this is again a unicorn thing, where they think it all has to go through the girl. If it's a girl, if it's two girls and a guy, they think it has to go through the girl. And I don't agree with that. That makes no sense. How are they supposed to know if they like the guy? But the girl will think that Daniel is like doing something on the side. So they'll be wary and they'll think he's like maybe a bad guy.
Different. Like, little do they know, she told me to text you.
Right. No, I think that makes so much sense. And it is so true. That has happened to me a million times. And it's actually for me now kind of like a red flag. Like if you don't want or can't bring yourself past me saying like, have your own relationship, please. And kind of let go of kind of those societal ideas about what's proper and improper, then I'm like over it. I'm like, this isn't going to work. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you to just be showing up for one or the other person unless you really want to. And then we can just do it that way. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to kind of like be in between. Right. So that makes total sense. I feel that. How does that make you feel, Daniel, when you're like kind of painted as this like this wolf, if you will, LOL.
Well, I'm trying to remember when this like happened. No, but that didn't happen. That never happened.
Well, I talked, well, okay, he might not have known this,
No.
but I talked to the person that I'm referring to after, and she told me that, yes, she like wondered if it was a red flag, and she was worried, like, oh my God, does Dana know that he texted me privately? And so we had that moment, and I was like, no, like that was, you know, like we'd talked about it, and I was like, why shouldn't you talk to her? And like, you know, so, but that's again, a situation when there's 3 people, it's like, you do need to have certain communication so that they're not like, oh no, what is this? Do I need to deal with it? You know, so it's good to kind of.
Well, I when I texted her separately too, I was like, I know this is kind of weird. I hope it doesn't seem like I'm like, this is some kind of setup or something like that.
Yeah.
And she seemed cool with it. But
yeah,
maybe
but she told me that
like
she was worried. So
Yeah.
I'm glad her and I kind of talked it out.
Great.
But I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's all good. But
The truth is, honestly, these are the moments that, like, when we were talking about, have you dated people that are poly or people that are not, like 95% of the people are not going to be, and they're not going to understand it, even if you lead with it, even if it's in your Bumble profile, even if it's in your Tinder, and even if you have all the right language or don't, you know, it's like, people have to be able to release that filter for themselves to be able to try it out in a way that's gonna, you know, make sense. So even if you guys have done a great job of opening that up, it's hard for some people to get past.
One of our exes had the same like thing. She could never get over the fact that we were married and I was Mel's husband. So she treated me differently up until like the last.
Whenever they would be on dates separately, she would act like they were boyfriend girlfriend, and then whenever we were together, it was kind of like she would like side hug him.
Yeah, she treated me like I was her older brother or something.
She would come over after months of date, like a couple months of dating, and, you know, give me a kiss when she got to the house, and she would like side hug Sammy like he was her big brother. And I was like, and I would call it out. I'd be like, that's weird. Like, why are you guys why do you act different when I'm not around? You don't have to, you know, you can act just like yourself no matter whether I'm here or whether I'm not here. Just be you. And I think it's okay, right? Like everyone's level of comfort and things like that are different, but just, I guess, to go to the same point that you're saying about, you know, feeling comfortable in a situation that's a little bit new or uncomfortable.
Yeah. So have you guys been in situations where you have been seeing a partner like on your own where they might have been monogamous and you tell them that you're poly, and how do they take it? Like, have you had any mixed reactions like that where it's like, even for you, Daniel, it's like, oh yeah, like I'm poly, but I'm in this, you know, I've been in a relationship with my girl for 15 years, but I'm okay to do this. Have you had any girls that was like hard for them to get past that, or they like, you know, questioned you or treated you differently when they first hear that you're poly?
I think every situation is different, but I think it almost works as an advantage for me. Like, I think Dana has a harder time with that with men, but like, I don't know what it is about. I'm not sure. I don't know if I could pinpoint it, but I feel like I've learned. I guess I learned the hard way when I first started bringing it up. I would bring it up and then like on a dating app, and then they would just unmatch immediately or that kind of thing.
Sure.
But most of the time I meet people now, it's in person, and I usually start with like a friends first policy, and that's always like the best way. And then that way, you know, there's no as long as I can talk with them and be friends with them and they understand, even if I have a partner, like then it's just, we're starting on a friend level anyway. That's kind of how and then it's like, I bring up polyamory and usually they don't know much about it, but I'm able to like explain it to them. And then then they're either going to be intrigued or not. And then from there, it's like,
you can decide which path to edge your way towards.
But there's also like an art to when to bring that up. Like, you don't want to bring it up too late because that's dishonest, and you don't need to bring it up right away either, because it's like, you don't have to go to every person you meet like, hi, I'm polyamorous.
Right.
Yeah.
There's another skit.
And I love that you said that, like building the friendship first, because, you know, even for me, sometimes like I feel like I have to be honest right away, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm poly right away. And they're like, oh, okay, well, you know,
They're like, cool.
Cool, like, okay.
You're like, great, no.
Yeah, like, okay, that wasn't what I was looking for. But I mean, that gives me a whole different perspective, just like trying to build the friendship first. And then, you know, again, knowing when to to tell somebody you're poly is probably huge, because like you said, everybody's different. So yeah, you don't want to just lead with that, like, you know, by the way, I'm poly, and the first time I even message you on a Bumble app, you know, that might be, or in person too. I feel like in person it might be a little bit different too as well.
I feel like it's, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, just one last thing. Like another thing is that because I kind of move slowly, like as far like sexually or whatever. Like I'm in no rush. Maybe that's an advantage of having a partner already or whatever, that I'm in no like hurry. And I usually let them know that. And I think that brings them a lot of comfort for like, oh, he's, you know, it gets rid of the stigma of like, oh, he's polyamorous. He probably just wants to sleep with as many people as possible. Like that kind of thing. So like letting them know that, they're even more intrigued, because they're like, what? A guy that's not trying to sleep with me right away? Like, oh, what's this polyamory thing you're talking about?
Yeah.
And I'll, you know, like, because I do end up having a lot of, ever since we've been polyamorous, now I have a lot of friends that are girls that I don't sleep with, that I'm just friends with, which like didn't really happen before.
Makes going out a lot more fun because we can get in faster.
You know, friends in high places, that always helps. You know, I think you're dropping a huge gem, and I think this is a great way for us to kind of like wrap up our first kind of podcast with you guys, an opportunity to open discussion. But you're dropping some like high keys, right? Like these are cheat codes. How you approach your polyamory makes the world of difference, because as we've said, you know, most people coming into the situation don't understand that polyamory isn't about sex. So setting it up in life where you're building strong friendships and connections is the first step. It isn't like jumping to the like, hey, now we're going to get into a relationship, right? So that is a great cheat code. And I want maybe you to kind of sum up like your best advice to somebody who's going into polyamory, and kind of even tag more on what you said about what to do and how to get to that place where you're letting connections build organically, and you're setting yourself up to win with those relationships that you're investing time with, you know, because it's tough as a polyamorous person to constantly be trying to pour into new relationships, and none of them necessarily panning out for all these different variety of reasons. So tell us what you guys would advise to people new to poly to sift through, you know, and how to set up a good skeleton for getting started in new relationships.
That's a great setup and segue. Like, I feel like maybe, I guess the answer, what I would say is that it's like treating it like a friend, like friendships is maybe a good way to look at it. Like, we're best friends, and we also, you know, are intimate with each other, or whatever, however you want to say
sex.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I don't know, we just saw this presentation by Dr. Amy Moores, she's like a researcher in polyamory.
Shout out to Amy.
She's amazing, and she was talking about how like platonic love and romantic love are kind of the same thing, I think she was saying. So like, I don't know, like that's like kind of how we treat every situation. It's like, you know, would you be pissed if your best friend found love elsewhere? I mean, yes, time-wise, like, you know, when your best friend gets like a new partner, gets a partner, you know, you might not see them for a little while, you might miss them, but you're not going to be like, you know, controlling and manipulative towards them to try to stop them from having love in their life. Maybe you'll miss them for a little while, and you'll have to figure out a new, you know, relationship or time situation. But like, you should be happy when somebody else is like flourishing in some way. And same thing with like meeting new people. It's like, why are we basing our ideas for like love and marriage and romantic love off of like these antiquated concepts, religious concepts or political concepts or whatever? Like, just see it, if you see it as a friendship, like a friendship that could blossom into something deeper. It's like, then just like treat people, you know, like they were your friend or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, I basically agree with that. I feel like my main thing that brings me joy, one of the main things in life that brings me joy is caring about someone, and connecting with them, knowing that they know me very well and knowing them very well, and feeling like I can almost be in any mood, or that they could be there for me if I need it, or I could be there for them. And like, I don't know, you just want to stop pretending. You just want to be yourself. And I don't know why it made sense that there's like one person that you do that with. So to me, the goal is to just, I don't need a certain number, but it's just, I want to be open to receiving and giving, and like finding those more than one person in the world that I can care about like deeply and be there for, and know that they also, you know, want to do that for me. So I think that is all. Yeah, that's kind of what polyamory is to me. And it can or cannot involve sex or intimacy, you know, whatever it is, or whatever, or it can change. It can be like maybe sexual at times, and then we kind of might fall out of that. But then what you have is this really great friendship.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah.
I love that.
I love that too.
Y'all are amazing. I
For
have to
real.
say, I'm so inspired by you guys. I know that Dr. Amy Morris was actually the one that connected us. So let's give one more like shout out to Dr. Amy Morris, because she is truly someone out there doing work for the polyamorous community. She is a huge advocate, and she is just an amazing individual. So I'm so grateful to her for connecting us with you guys. I'm so inspired by what you guys are doing, and
100%.
obviously you know that we are like your biggest fans. So continue to do what you're doing, and we hope that we get to connect over and over again and spend time with you guys in every different style of time that we can spend. And
That's
just
crazy, because like that hour goes by quick. I thought we were going. I was like, oh, maybe we should, you know, wrap it up earlier because of like time wise. And I'm like, damn, we had so much more I wanted to ask you guys. Next
yeah,
time.
but this is just the first. Right, well, technically the second one, but this is just just the beginning, hopefully, of opportunity for us to open up conversations about our love style and share it with people and give them, you know, the tools and just the voice and the visibility that they need to feel like they can walk in their truths. Because, you know, seeing your journey and learning from y'all's journey has been, you know, something that just kind of like validated us even more. You know what I mean? So I know that everyone's looking for that, that validation, that representation. And so thank you guys for being out there and doing.
You too.
Yeah, we feel the same way.
Being unapologetically yourselves, that shit is badass. So we appreciate
Let's
you
try
guys.
to plan a time like in the next, like, you know, whenever you guys are free in the next week or two, whenever we decide that, or I guess whenever we do decide that we're going to release this, to try to go live again, because I know last time we did right after it, but maybe let's give ourselves some time to plan it and plan a little time to go live and, you know, start a conversation with all of our followers for sure.
Yeah, some Q&As for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we could ask you guys some questions
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah, we'll do the live asking you guys questions, and then they can tune in for the
let's do
podcast to hear about us.
You already know, like
Yes.
anything you guys want or need. And we're definitely gonna be making our way out to LA here.
Oh
over
yeah,
the
we're gonna
next
be in LA soon actually.
month or
so-
two. So
Oh,
hopefully we'll
good.
cross paths and we
Yes.
can,
Let us know ahead of time so we can plan something.
We
Love to
will.
meet you guys in person.
we're thinking about coming for Pride that time of June. So we'll
Oh, nice.
yeah.
That
Well, we
would
love
be
you guys.
cool.
Be well.
Thank you guys so much.
We
You
will
too.
cut
You guys.
the podcast here. That was Pursuit of Poly and Dana and the Wolf, Dana and Daniel. Thank
Go
you.
follow them on all Instagram, TikTok,
YouTube,
Twitter, every
Twitter.
platform. They're amazing. We love their content. And yes.
at Dana and the Wolf. And if you guys want to do any type of shout out for yourselves and let everybody know where they can find you again, please.
And where they can find your music too.
Yes, your music as well on iTunes, Spotify, all the major platforms.
Yes. Yeah.
Anywhere, yeah, just look up Dana and the Wolf. We're also on Vero Music is like our label. Have to shout out them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Thank you guys so
Yeah,
much.
thank
We
you.
appreciate
much
it. And looking
fun.
forward to your music too.
I know.
Thank you,
Yes,
y'all.
we love you guys. Have a great evening.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.